Henry Moule. Focus on a local inventor as part of British Science Week 2021. Henry Moule led a productive life, as his impressive resume of achievements shows. Born on the 27th of January 1801 in Melksham, he was educated at Marlborough Grammar School. He then went on to St John's College, Cambridge, where he graduated with a BA in 1821 and an MA in 1826. He was heavily involved with the church throughout his life and was ordained to the curacy of Melksham in 1823 before being placed in sole charge of the church in the village of Gillingham, Dorset, in 1825. In 1829 he became vicar of St George's Church in Fordington, now a suburb of Dorchester, where he remained until his death in 1880. Henry was also appointed chaplain to the troops in the Dorchester Barracks for several years. He wrote a book entitled Barrack Sermons in 1845, and its substantial sales helped pay for a church to be built for the troops. Henry Moule was not only a purposeful and determined man, but also an accidental eco-warrior of the 19th century. Fordington in the 1800s was a place of tightly packed housing and deprivation, and it wasn't long until cholera, a great and highly feared killer of the time, struck, with outbreaks in 1849 and 1854. Henry worked tirelessly to help those infected with the disease, but many died regardless. He was sure that cholera deaths were caused by the appalling sanitation and contaminated waters of the time, a theory which turned out to be correct. Once, as he knelt by the bed of a dying man, the overflow from the one privy in the household shared by 13 families actually trickled between them. It's an unthinkable image nowadays, but the terrible reality for those at the time who couldn't afford to pay people to discreetly empty their privies or afford a flushing toilet, which had started to become popular from 1851. Henry knew that change was needed. In 1858, the sheer size of the sanitation problem was revealed when the Thames, used for centuries as a dumping ground for household and industrial waste, was reduced in the exceptionally hot summer heat to a bubbling mess of stinking filth. The smell was overwhelming and became aptly known as the Great Stink. The idea that disease spread through contaminated air and bad smells, known as miasma, was the accepted theory at the time. The great stink and the fear it produced eventually spurred Parliament into constructing better sewers for the city. In 1859, back in rural Dorset, Henry was far away from the putrid smells of London, but he had decided that he could no longer stand the equally appalling smells of his cesspool, essentially a hand-dug well for the storage of excreta, and something Henry himself termed an unnatural abomination, and so he filled it in. He decided to just bury the household waste in trenches in his yard, and discovered quite by accident that in 3 to 4 weeks no trace of the waste could be found. Henry erected a shed, sifted dry earth beneath it, and mixed the contents of the privy buckets with the dry earth every morning. Once mixed, neither the eye nor the nose can detect anything offensive. He then discovered that he could recycle the earth, using the same batch several times, and use the mixture as fertilizer for the garden. Henry quickly got to work producing a commode with a bucket below the seat and a hopper behind it that contained dry earth or ashes that, when released in a measured amount by the pull of a lever, would cover the bucket's contents, eliminating the smell and naturally working to break down the waste. In May 1860, Henry took out a patent for his dry earth system and published many works on the subject. In 1868, he set up Moule Patent Earth Closet Company Limited, which manufactured and sold earth closets. Henry Moule spent the rest of his life advocating his incredible invention and its adoption, and undoubtedly helped improve living conditions for many people. It became very popular, holding its own against the water closet or flushing toilet. Indeed, Queen Victoria herself had an earth closet installed at Windsor Castle. Earth closets were adopted in some schools across the UK and in jails, government buildings and mental hospitals, as they were then known, in Australia and India. In the publication List of Defects and Dilapidations in the Elementary Schools, published in 1903 by Wiltshire's Education Department, it recommends 4 Moule's earth closets are fitted in Cologne School in classroom number 3. However, the popularity of the earth closet did not continue in the UK, and the flush and forget system of sewers took over completely. It's unclear if the earth closets would have been practical in large towns and cities, but there's no denying that the flush system means a huge loss of nutrients unless the sewage is recycled. With our growing awareness of conserving water and the benefits of recycling, the recent upsurge of interest in composting toilets can only be a good thing, and through them, the spirit of Henry's invention lives on.